All right, hello everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you today. It's an honor to be here. And as previously mentioned, I am Dave Rosendahl, the president and co-founder here at MindFire. And we're a technology company that's worked for many, many years with printers, direct mailers, and B2B and B2C brands around the world. And what we've had a unique opportunity to do is understand how direct mail and what's being called OptiChannel is really changing how print and mail companies need to think about the mail that they're doing for their clients. And I want to share some observations with you today, some thoughts and some insights about the state of direct mail and where marketing and communication is headed, largely on the back of digital communication. But I want to show you how those two intersect and help you think about how to get the two working well together. But first, before we do that, if you've ever been in any of my other sessions, you know I'm very interactive. What I would love for you to do is go grab your cell phone right now. This is the one opportunity I give you to multitask. I'm going to grab mine as well. So pick up your cell phone and open up the camera app and then point it at the QR code that you see here on the screen. Do that right now. I'm here in the chat with you, so if you need any help, let me know. But open up your camera app, point it at the QR code here on the screen, and let me share this with you. A lot of people today, including printers and mailers, B2B, B2C brands, don't know that the camera app in most modern phones, not your flip phones, but your modern devices, have a QR code reader built into them. So when you point your camera at this QR code, if you're one of the lucky ones, it'll actually give you an opportunity to open up a URL. In this case, it's jumping you to my LinkedIn profile. I want to be able to stay connected with you there on LinkedIn. So point it there. And now, as you're doing that, think about the possibilities here. If this is new for you, if you haven't considered this before, think about the resurgence of QR codes as it relates to direct mail and as it relates to a response mechanism on direct mail. We're going to be talking about some of that today. But I want to open up your minds to this new possibility. If this is new for you, it's okay. We're all amongst friends here. Drop the word new in the chat right now. I want to know if this was new, if this was a new insight for you. If you already knew it, especially given everything that's happened with the pandemic and all of the touchless stuff that we've had to kind of go through, maybe this was something you already knew. But if it was new to you, drop the word new in the chat. I'm always amazed to see how many people this is new for and what kind of new ideas it unlocks for you. So let's stay connected on LinkedIn. Hopefully that QR code tip gave you a little insight. And just in case we've never met, again, like I said, this is Dave Rosendahl. I am the president and co-founder here at MindFire. We've had the blessing of working with thousands of organizations with a big focus on printers, commercial printers, and agencies, servicing thousands of B2B and B2C organizations all around this idea of OptiChannel. And so from our perspective here, we do three things. And it's through those three things that we do that I'm bringing you these insights today. The first is we have communication software that helps companies run OptiChannel campaigns. We also have an agency internally that's running these kinds of campaigns for all sorts of different organizations, higher ed institutions, automotive companies, B2B companies, B2C companies, financial services, mortgage, you name it. Our agency is doing a lot of great work with leading edge organizations, helping them embrace this new OptiChannel world. And then thirdly, we offer a lot of training. So if you're not in our world yet, please connect with me. You'll see those trainings. They're free. We educate the community, the OptiChannel community, on a regular basis, and I'd love to see you there. So, like I said, we service a variety of different organizations, but really it falls into a couple of buckets. One are the print service providers. Many of you here, I'm sure, have heard or have seen MindFire at some point in the past, right? Now, the opportunity that we have here at MindFire gives us the ability to see across all of the organizations that you see here on the screen. We get to see just a large number of organizations and what they're doing with direct mail, what they're doing with OptiChannel, and it's from that perspective that I'm honored to be able to share some insights with you today. So, as we jump in here, I don't think I have to say much about the last 12 months, 12 to 13 months, right? It's been tough for a lot of organizations. Even if you were one of the lucky few companies that found yourself doing well, it certainly has been anything but easy. And with face-to-face interaction all but extinct, we've had to fight to really drive business. And whether that be as a service provider for the printers that are here with us, finding customers, or if you're servicing clients, helping them find customers. It's been difficult, right? So let me share a little background for you around what OptiChannel has done for organizations who have been able to embrace it, even in the face of the pandemic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be very vulnerable here with you. I'm going to share from our own results. These are results within our own organization in terms of new customer acquisition. Okay, if you're wondering, what does this actually do for a company? When you do OptiChannel and you do the things that we're about to talk about today, 118% increase in revenue. This is new customer revenue. This isn't revenue from existing clients. These are new clients. And 43% more clients year over year. And so I share this not to brag or to say, look how great we are, but to illustrate that even in the tough climate that we've all been in, these techniques, this strategy that I'm about to share with you, this year of OptiChannel is an opportunity that I believe every organization here has at their fingertips. And once you learn how to apply it, it can do significant things for you. Now, let me be clear. I will be talking about digital quite a bit in the next few minutes, but I also am weaving that into direct mail because that's a very important optimal channel as it relates to what we're talking about today in modern marketing. So I know it sounds cliche, folks, but the world has really changed, right? It sounds deceptively simple, but there is a dramatic change underfoot that has profound implications on you as a printer, an agency, or marketing services company. And it's really predicated on this idea that all of us as people, businesses, anybody who has a message to communicate into the hands of a constituent, a customer, a prospect, that the easiest way for us to reach our goals is to produce content correctly. I underscore that intentionally. And that's where it all starts. Everything I'm talking about today as it relates to OptiChannel, starting at the very top of this so you understand it, starts with that notion that producing content is the easiest way for you to reach your goals. And you might be thinking, hey, as a printer or for my clients, what are you talking about? Why is that the case? What do you mean, Dave? And I want to argue that whether you are selling print, like you see here on the screen, or you're looking for a job, or heck, I came across this example as I was preparing today. Even if you're looking for love, check this out, right? LDS millionaire looking for his wife, exclusive VIP event June 7th. He even has a URL here to respond to. This is content, right? So all of these goals, selling print, finding a job, finding love, is all driven by content. Even like this billboard, this is how you get your message out to people, right? It's true for you and it's true for your clients. As I was preparing, I came across this. Look at this guy here. If the millionaire doesn't work out, here's your chance to settle for much, much less. This is a smart kid here. Somebody should hire him. He's even got his URL here, Date Braden, right? Smart guy. The point is, producing content and sharing it daily in the channels, in the platforms, in the apps that matter today to the modern consumer, the modern B2B or B2C customer, is the easiest way for you to reach your goals. And you might be thinking, daily? What are you talking about? How do I do this daily? Well, let me ask you a question. I want to keep this really interactive. You know, I'm here in the chat with you, so let's talk. I'm going to ask you 3 questions here, and I want you to drop a 1, a 2, or a 3 in the chat if these resonate with you. There's 3 things going on around why I think it's important for businesses, yours and your clients, if you're servicing customers, to be producing content daily to augment what you're doing in print, in direct mail. Here's the first trend. Drop a 1 if this resonates with you. Your customers, your prospects are busier than ever. They don't respond to sales calls asking to meet and share new ideas. Who does that resonate with? I want to know, who does that resonate with? Drop a 1 in the chat if you can resonate with this notion here. Drop a 1. Trend number 2, as much as we like to think about it, men and women, our customers simply don't remember all of our capabilities, right? How often has it been the case that you find out that a customer of yours, maybe even a longtime customer, places an order from a competitor for a service that you offer, or even worse yet, something that you've offered them in the past? Drop a 2 in the chat if that resonates with you. Drop a 2 in the chat. Anybody? I know that this resonates with people. Whenever I'm face-to-face with folks, I see the heads nodding. So drop a 2 if this resonates with you. Trend number 3, customers don't view you as innovators anymore. And I'm specifically talking to my print service provider friends here. And because of that, they don't come to you asking for new strategies, for new services, for your input on projects that are important to their revenue growth. Does that resonate with anybody? Do you feel that? Drop a 3 in the chat. Drop a 3 in the chat. I can see you dropping the 3s if that resonates with you. For these 3 reasons, these 3 trends that we have found across the market, if these 3 trends are impacting you right now, then what's the answer? Well, that's where I come back to this idea of the OptiChannel philosophy, which states that you must produce content, share it daily in the small number of channels that matter to your audience. That's how you're going to beat this. And you might be thinking, okay, Dave, sounds interesting, right? But how do you do it? How the heck are you proposing we do this? Well, here's what I'm saying. For your print business, whether you're a printer, direct mailer, maybe even for you as an individual sales executive, business development person, as you think about not only how you're going to communicate your message to your customers, but also how you're going to help your customers do the same thing, here's the framework. Here's the OptiChannel framework. Number 1, and it's very simple, but I'm going to walk you through each piece here real quick. Number 1, you need to figure out how you or your organization best communicates. What I mean by that is your organization, or if you're thinking about doing this for your client, is that organization best suited to communicate through words, video, or audio, right? Words, things like blog posts, articles, LinkedIn posts, things like that. Video, heck, your cell phone, modern cell phone is more than enough video capacity to be able to do incredible things. Or is it audio, like a podcast? Think about this. The podcast format. I don't know where my earbuds are. Here they are, right? The podcast format is the only type of communication where you're actually, and I know this sounds weird, inside the body of your potential customer. Think about the power of that, right? So that's the first thing you need to do. Figure out which of those 3 you're best suited to. Number 2, you need to get your intent right. And what I mean by this, when we work with organizations around the world, even the leading marketers, the leading sales minds, what we often find is that they have forgotten, let's say, that the content that they produce must align with the values that are important to the consumer. And those things that are of interest to the consumer usually have very little to do with what it is that we're interested in, right? As the sales or marketing organization, salesperson, getting our message out there to the world, often what we think is important has very little to do with what the recipient actually thinks is important. So you have to get your intent right. That's the second part here. This is where a lot of people stumble. Thirdly, you got to produce multiple pieces of content per day, contextualized to the platforms where your audience is hanging out, or if you're doing this on behalf of your customers, where their audience is hanging out. When I say contextualized, I mean that the way you create a message for direct mail isn't the same as the way you would push it out through email. And it's not the same as maybe you would push it out through Facebook, right? I think you know that intuitively, but you got to learn the different ways to contextualize the message, the creative, to that channel and distribute it in places where there's ample attention. That's one of the core premises here behind OptiChannel. You want to find the optimal channels where your audience is hanging out, where there's a lot of organic attention, where there's a lot of eyeballs on the material at a low cost. And then fourthly, all of that is great, right? But you have to then learn to do what we call siphoning. Siphon, meaning you have to learn the strategies and apply the tactics to take the engagement that starts to happen when you do these 4 things together. And you got to be able to turn those into conversations that turn into leads, that turn into pipeline and opportunities that eventually become sales. You have to learn how to do that. And those are the 4 things. Now, when I put it in picture format, take a look here at the screen, right? This is how it looks. You got to choose words, video, or audio. That's part 1. Part 2 is you have to provide value to your recipient. Piece number 3 is you need to broadcast multiple times per day. Direct mail, a channel that you should consider. Facebook, a channel you consider. YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on and so forth, SMS, email, ringless voicemail. These are all the channels that we see are very, very active right now. But you got to figure out for your audience, or if you're doing this for your clients, if you're doing direct mail in conjunction with digital, where is that audience hanging out? Where is that tribe present, as we like to say? Where is their attention high and the cost to engage low? And then fourthly, you have to learn how to siphon the engagement. All right? Now, look, I just came across this stat. 64% of people read all or most of their direct mail messages versus 48% for digital. So when you're thinking about these channels, and one of the reasons why I'm glad I'm here with you today is that direct mail is a very, very viable channel in the face of digital. In fact, it often will outperform digital. I'm sure you've seen the studies. What I'm here to suggest to you is that we shouldn't be connected and married to direct mail and email only, let's say, right? You have to consider these other optimal channels for your audience in order to get this to work. Now, I know that when I go through this with folks, I often hear, well, I just can't do this, right? I don't know all these digital channels. I don't know how to weave direct mail with digital. I just never done it for our organization. I've never done it for a client, or I don't see the potential. Let me describe to you the way I see this as an opportunity for you. Imagine, look at the screen here. If you could go back, see right there where that red arrow is? If you could go back in time, this is actually about 60 minutes away from me here in California. If you could go back in time and buy that little, I don't know, shanty or whatever that is right there, right? If you could go back in time and buy that, that investment would be this today. Does that make sense? That's what I'm saying is the opportunity here. When you invest in the optimal channels where your audience is hanging out and you do the things that I'm describing here today in the OptiChannel framework, the investment that you make now is like buying beachfront real estate. And if you think, shoot, I've missed the opportunity, well, maybe you're not going to be right on the beach, but you're one street back, okay? There is still ample opportunity here to take advantage of what I'm talking about. One of those optimal channels, folks, is LinkedIn. You may have heard me talk about this in other places, right? Right now, LinkedIn provides significant dividends. It's literally like being able to be this young lady here, right? And have a stadium size full of people. This is obviously pre-COVID, right? But 80,000 people, 100,000 people, 10,000 people, 1,000 people that you can get your message in front of in conjunction with your print marketing, and you can do it for free. There's wide organic reach that many of these digital platforms are giving you. Now, here's an example. If you think, shoot, on LinkedIn, our customer, or even me, if I'm doing it for my organization, we're just not that big on LinkedIn. Here's an example I want to show you just to allay those concerns. This is one of our team members here. 891 followers. If you're thinking, shoot, Dave, I don't have tens of thousands of followers like you. How can I possibly do that? Well, look, she's got 891. Look how many views, 85,000 views for free of this post. And that's why I say this is so important. When you figure out the right digital channels to weave in with direct mail, the opportunities are innumerate. Now, you got to make sure that when you're doing that in the digital channels, that you're bringing value to the consumer. So if you're doing it for yourself, if you're going out after new customers for your print business, for your agency, for your organization, the content that you put out, it's got to be of value. Now, that's a big mind shift for a lot of people, right? It's not about what we care about. It's what's important to them. Here, let me give you a silly example, right? I'm going to personalize this to my print friends. The difference in providing value is like this, right? You could say, hey, hire us. We print on Indigos. Now, nothing wrong with Indigos. I love Indigos. How many people here love the Indigo? Drop an X in the chat if you're an Indigo fan, right? But to our client, is that really what they care about? They might, but I argue to you, what if you came out with a message that was like this? 7 things you need to know when picking your next print partner, right? And you created white papers and videos and posts and little snippets around how to help guide a person, an organization, a buyer, a marketer, around how to pick the right print partner. Think about the value that provides versus something silly like saying, hey, hire us, we print on Indigos. Now, of course, I'm making this a simple example just to illustrate, but do you see the difference between those two messages and the value behind them? Drop a yes in the chat. Drop a yes in the chat. I want to see if this makes sense to you. This is the difference I'm talking about. I know that a lot of you here, which is the reason why I have this opportunity to speak with you, are interested in direct mail, doing direct mail, maybe have created a business around direct mail and have been doing it for years. And I want to make sure you hear me loud and clear here when I say that when we talk about these digital channels, I'm not excluding direct mail from any of this. This is a very, very important piece of the puzzle, okay? But what I'm suggesting you need to do is you need to think about how to use the OptiChannel framework and identify the digital channels that make sense. And I could even say sense with C-E-N-T-S, right? That kind of sense that you should be focusing on, whether you're doing it for yourself or doing this for a client, right? And then you have to figure out where is the audience actually paying attention and work backwards from there. It might be something like TikTok. You got to be open-minded. What you find may surprise you. Or it might be something like Clubhouse. Drop an X in the chat if you've never heard of Clubhouse. How many people here have never heard of Clubhouse? I want to see that in the chat. Drop an X in the chat if you've never heard of Clubhouse. You might find, let me ask you this way. If any of those three trends resonated with you and you're feeling like, shoot, it's just become harder and harder to find and engage my customers and prospects, it might be because they're hanging out in places that you're just not in. You're just not at the party. The OptiChannel framework and philosophy and movement talks about, hey, you got to be where the customer is right now. Okay? Now, if you're thinking, social, Clubhouse, TikTok, Bangbok, whatever this stuff is, Dave, that you're talking about, yeah, right. My customers aren't hanging out there. I'm not even there, right? Well, that's a fallacy, folks. That's a problem. Don't let that be an excuse. What you have to do is level up your thinking. How do you incorporate these channels with direct mail? How do you learn them yourself so that you can be an effective modern marketer in today's world? Here's the point. We should not get married to the channel. Get married to where your customers are. If you're doing this for a client of yours, if you're doing direct mail for a client and you're thinking about how to use OptiChannel, get married to where the customers are. That's direct mail for a lot of organizations right now. But it's also digital for some. Don't get married to the channel. Get married to where the customer's attention is. And then produce content there, right? Words, videos, audio, content. Put it out through the channels that matter. There's only a small handful that matter to your audience. It may be something you're not familiar with, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be there. You got to figure it out. Now, I say that our job here as OptiChannelers, if you will, is to fill the communication pipe. So I often use this illustration here or this word picture. Think of these pipes as leading to your clients. You got to fill these pipes with relevant content. Okay, that's your job now, is to fill these pipes with relevant content. That could be a pipe that's USPS leading to the mailbox. That could be an email pipe. That could be a TikTok pipe, right? You got to fill those pipes. It's basic. But less than 1% of people are filling those digital channels with content in the way I'm describing. That's actually a stat from LinkedIn. Less than 1% of people on LinkedIn are producing content, which means this is a huge strategic advantage. When you embrace this idea, it can help you sell more print. Sell more of your print services. If you're an agency, sell more of your agency services, whatever it is that's being sold. Because think about it this way. Between your product and the customer for that product, let's say for you who are in the print family here, right? I argue that everything else is getting squeezed out of that equation. The only thing that's left, the big pipe that's left right now, is the internet. There's a lot of little pipes in there that are channels, right? But between your product and the customer, the internet is really this great equalizer. It's this change that I've been talking about, right? And so the only thing left that you need to figure out is how to communicate, how to fill those pipes with information, content that's of value to your customer. That's the modern OptiChannel way. Printers, this is very, very true for many of you. And like I said, we have the opportunity to work with thousands of print organizations over the years. And I know that marketing and investing in marketing is something that not very many print organizations do. But in order to succeed in this changing world, this is something that we have to do. Now, Where's my cell phone? Here it is, right? I bet your cell phone is within hand's reach, right? I hope you're not multitasking. But what I want you to think about here is that you have in your hands tremendous power. Here's something I hear Gary Vee often say. It sounds a little strange at first, but check this out. Gary Vee says, what's the ROI of this? What's the ROI of a basketball? Anybody? Anybody know? What's the ROI of a basketball? Well, for me, I end up in the hospital. This is actually me. I go up for a dunk, right? And I end up in the hospital. But for this guy, for LeBron James, the ROI of a basketball is billions, right? You all have basketballs in your hand right now. You all have the capacity to unlock tremendous ROI. What you have to do is you got to put in the reps. You got to put in the hard work. You got to figure out how to make this happen. We're here to help if you need the help. But I want to encourage, I want to inspire you to think about the OptiChannel method and take advantage of 2021 to find out where your clients are actually hanging out right now. It might be in the channels, folks, that you're just not in. If you've been resisting social, if you've been resisting digital because it's new, it's scary, it's different, you think it takes a lot of time, I encourage you to rethink that. You got to find out where your customers, your prospects are hanging out, right? And you got to reverse engineer from those locations so that you can be where their attention is right now in the moment. And then you got to use contextualized content to engage them and orchestrate a series of meaningful interactions and conversations, weaving direct mail and digital in tandem to get the results you're looking for, and do that at scale. Repeat that, applying what you learn at each step of the process to make it better. Whether that's in direct mail and Facebook, direct mail and Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and direct mail. If you're using ringless voicemail, you got to figure that out, okay? Now, look, for those of you who are here that do direct mail, how many of you service automotive companies? Drop a 1 in the chat if you service automotive companies. I want to illustrate a few things here with some real data. Direct mail gets about 1/3 of the overall media budget from automotive companies. That's good. But what about the other 2/3? If you're a service provider, if you're a commercial printer or agency servicing these types of organizations, where's the other 2/3 of that spend going? With OptiChannel, the right software, the right skills, the right training, the right understanding, you can tap into more of that budget. If you'd like this report, let's see, drop the word automotive in the chat. I'm doing this on the fly here. Drop the word automotive in the chat. If you'd like this report, I'll find out a way to get it over to you. Now, look at this. Continuing with auto, the folks in this survey were asked what they're currently using versus what they plan to use in these digital categories. Now, these are top marketers, okay? They're leading the way. I want you to think about the opportunity that you have with what I call the Fortune 5 million, the rest of the organizations in the United States or in North America or wherever you happen to be. These companies are leading the way, but this illustrates the opportunities that you have. 60% are currently using digitally enhanced mail, with 23% planning to use, okay? And again, these are leading edge folks. Think about how big the opportunity is within your market. 56% currently using retargeted direct mail, 29% planning to use it. And you can see the other examples here, these digital innovations that make direct mail that much more effective. If you want this report, this one we did with USPS, happy to send this to you. Drop the word automotive there in the chat if you want that. Now, one more thing here in automotive that I think you might find interesting. When you think about the OptiChannels, like what are organizations actually marrying up with direct mail? What's interesting here is that email was the optimal channel that most aligned with direct mail, that most people align with direct mail. Is that fascinating? It varies by industry. We've got other industries in this report. So again, if you would like this, drop the word automotive or drop the word USPS there in the chat, and I'll make sure we get this to you, all right? Here's another example. We recently interviewed Rachel Davies. She's the creative director over at Susan G. Komen. And here's what she said. This is in 2020, again, in the midst of a pandemic. We saw a combined increase in revenue from direct mail and digital working together at over 30%. So she has a lot of examples. In fact, if you want this one, let's see, drop the word Rachel in the chat. This is actually a video interview we did. If you want this this video, drop the word Rachel. She showed how they combined direct mail with digital, and you can see some of the examples here, the display ads that went along with the direct mail pieces. A lot of great examples. She talked about how they plan for that, how they build out their funnel with direct mail and OptiChannel, and their strategy around how to find where their customers are engaging and then kind of reverse engineer from there to contextualize communication and push it out. All of the stuff that we've talked about today. In fact, one of the interesting things that she shared is that in their case, the kind of contextualized content that seemed to do really well, and this probably makes sense, right, if you think about it, are personal stories. Stories around how breast cancer has impacted folks and the impact that it's had on their life. So if you'd like that link, drop the word, what did I say, Rachel? Drop Rachel into the chat, and we'll figure out a way to get that to you, or you can email me, or I'm happy to connect with you there on LinkedIn, as I mentioned. So if you have questions about how to do this, if you're thinking, geez, how do I actually make this happen? Dave, I hear what you're saying. I believe I need to change my organization. Well, that's what we do. That's what we can do to help you. Happy to talk to you. Happy to give you tons of free resources around, how should you be thinking about direct mail? What kind of communication software do you need to make all of this happen? If it's something that you need help running, we have an agency, like I said, that helps folks. We have training in these areas. So I'm happy to talk to anybody who's got a question about how to make this happen. And I think we're going to have a few minutes for real-time Q&A here in just a moment. I want to thank all of you for giving me an opportunity to share. You can see, obviously, that I'm passionate about this topic, right? This is something I'm very passionate about. I'm honored that MindFire and that we're able to be at the forefront of this movement, shepherding companies big and small towards this mindset, adopting this philosophy, and finding how to actually make this happen to drive business results. So I'd love to connect with any of you. If you didn't take the opportunity, pull out your camera, open up the camera app, point it at that QR code. We can connect on LinkedIn. There's also my contact information there on the screen, my email. I'm happy to talk to anybody who's got any questions. And with that, I want to say thank you to the event sponsors. Thank you all. Hey, have you gotten value out of this? Drop a 1 in the chat if this has been useful to you. Drop a 1 in the chat. Please, drop a 1. Go over there right now, drop a 1 in the chat. I want to make sure this has been of value to you. And I've got one more question for you before I let you go. Let me see those 1s coming in. Please keep those 1s coming in. Here's my question for you. I want to take a moment here before I say goodbye to ask you this question. As you think about the OptiChannel strategy that I shared with you today, right? I've given you the framework. I've given you the model. Let me bring that back up here on the screen. Remember, I told you, number 1, let me move my big old head here. Number 1, you have to figure out how you best communicate. You have to get your intent right. You got to produce multiple pieces of content per day, and you got to learn how to siphon, right? Here's the model on the screen. You can see it. As I went through this with you today, here's what I want to know. Take a minute, really give me your best answer here. What was the one thing, maybe 2, that you picked up today that was the unlock for you, the aha moment, the light bulb moment where you're like, that is what I've been missing, or that idea is the thing that I need to jot down. I got my yellow pad here. I've been taking notes this morning as well, right? What's that one thing that I got to jot down that when I get back to figuring out how to make 2021 an incredible year that I picked up from our time here together? Take a moment. Please, 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 please put that in the chat. I'd love to be able to see that. I am here in the chat with you. And I love reading your responses. It's what allows us to understand how is this message connecting with you. It's another way of helping us contextualize our own communication, right? We use this framework as well. So I love seeing those come in. Thank you for sending those messages in. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak with you today. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the event coordinators here. I think maybe we'll do some Q&A. And I appreciate all of you. I hope to connect with you on LinkedIn, via email, or maybe even in person someday very soon here. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Talk to you soon.